like full on Marie Antoinette or something. Like, right? Like if you could have
Did you know
anything.
Marie Antoinette would shit in the corner?
It has pockets.
Hey, it's a podcast about celebrating our everyday and sharing the things that we're all holding.
I'm Abby.
I'm Laura.
Let's go. So, Halloween. Making Halloween costumes for my kids.
Oh, yes.
I really
You're a
chose...
Halloween costume maker.
Okay, I will say that our theme,
Of course.
okay, is wings. So every one of us is something with wings. So it's
That's
loose.
so creative.
It's loose, but here's the thing. I really want to make a pair of wings. I've been wanting to for years now.
You're like, how can I make my day harder?
Yes. Like,
I mean, it's cool.
I've got varying amounts of enthusiasm for my boys. My middle child is everything that it can be. We need to make it. He wants to ramp it up. So I'm more just holding him back, even though I feel like we're doing so much. I'm being like, yeah,
You're like
you're not
reeling it
actually
in.
going to be able to fly.
Yeah.
You know, it's that kind of conversation we're having.
Or like he's going out expecting like top tier costume
Yes.
design and stuff like that. And you're like, hey man, this is not a Game of Thrones budget.
But his costume is going to be really good.
First of all, I feel like it needs to be specified that I love Halloween. I love Halloween for a multitude of reasons. But deep down, I am not a Halloween girl. I am a spooky girl.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between that. My Halloween is sort of all year long. Halloween for me right now is making it really exciting and fun for the kids. And also sort of giving myself a little bit of fun in that.
Yeah.
I like spooky stuff, and I also like to be able to introduce it to the kids without trauma, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, you're not
Sure.
like, hey, let's watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
What's some Halloween movies you do watch for the kids?
Honestly, we're just starting to watch Halloween movies. I mean, my kids
Yeah,
are still really
sure.
young. Like, my
Sure.
youngest one is 3, and they get notably anxious at the tension in Polar Express.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So we are not at the place
Sure.
where we can just be like, let's go. We're just kind of navigating what is that level of scary? Why is it scary? Why is it fun to be scared? When it comes to scared, do you like to be scared? Do you like to
Right.
scare people?
Right.
Do you like things that are creepy? Do you like historical scary things?
Yeah.
Nonfiction? We're in this stage of narrowing that down a little bit.
I love how much you have thought about this.
This is the season that I thrive in. People will always send me things for Halloween, and we have our big 12-foot skeleton, and people are like, you're such a Halloween girl. And I'm like, I'm not necessarily a Halloween girl. I am just always living this life.
Right.
And it's not that I'm always living a life where I want to have a 12-foot skeleton in my yard. I'm always living a life where I'm thinking about spooky things, and I read horror all year long. I watch scary movies all year long. When Kyle takes the boys camping, I'm gonna sit back, have a snack, put on a face mask, and watch a horror movie. That is calming. I love it. That's just me, but you know, that was really
Yeah. Sure.
not conducive to a world of ministry that we were in for so long. So October is a really safe month, essentially, where I can express interest and everyone's like, that's normal. You're like, hey, I watched a horror movie every single day. I didn't, but I could say that and people would be like, cool, I'm not alarmed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if I approached you in March and I was like, I've watched a horror movie every single day, people would be low-key concerned.
I also think you just need to find your people too, because I don't think you're the only person who's doing that. Obviously, finding people within your other things
that helps a
connecting.
lot. That does.
Yeah,
And that's what's so funny.
The best part about Halloween is dressing up.
I'm okay with it.
I love it.
I'm.
That's where I get really excited.
I love the idea that everyone's all into this together, where everyone is really accepting of my interests without being judgmental. I guess in an ideal world, that's how it would be every day.
Okay, so
But-
top recommendations for maybe people like me who have not watched a lot of horror or not read a lot of horror. Do you have some entry level, but maybe not just the basics. I'm throwing this on you.
But I'm ready.
Here's the 3 Halloween movies you could watch this year to just open up your
to introduce
Halloween
people to horror.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's important to note that the genre of horror is so multifaceted. You can be uncomfortable with horror, but with a very specific aspect of horror.
Okay.
There's a lot of people out there who are like, I am okay with scary stuff and I'm okay with that, but I don't want specifically like demonic things.
Sure.
Which is fine. That's great. Because guess what? There's a whole lot of other stuff. So I think first and foremost, figuring out what you are and are not comfortable with, that is always step one, because you don't want to find out while you're halfway through a date or a movie night, and because we know how precious time is, that you're like, oh wait, I absolutely hate this.
Okay, I like this too, because someone who doesn't go towards that because being scared has not felt fun for me. You're saying the goal is not to just scare everybody. I want everyone to feel really scared.
No, it's storytelling. It's just a different way of storytelling.
Okay.
And a lot of horror is based off of very real things going on. There are some things that people can't watch that because that is so overwhelmingly triggering. Yeah. Like, for example, there was a movie that came out a few years ago. As if I have any concept of time.
It's going to be like in the 1900s,
I was a baby.
as my kid says.
and it's called Invisible Man, and it is about this almost like a haunting situation, but it draws so much from abusive relationships and those who've gone through domestic violence, of the idea that you are always sort of haunted by this presence of a man who is always there threatening to do harm. You know what I mean? So there's those kind of things where you could be someone who would love to jump into something scary, but that's not it. Figuring out where you land on your own boundaries around being scared and what you want to
I love how this is the most ambiguous answer to a question I've given you on this entire podcast.
I mean,
because this is your special interest, and you'll ask me a question and I'll have super ambiguous answers because I'm that person. But usually when I ask you a question, you've got an answer, and here you don't, which is actually so exciting for me.
Well, because it's so different for everybody. What I love, what are my favorites, could really, really upset other people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or other people could watch it and be like, this is so boring. I want another aspect of this. I want all of these things. I would not say that I'm a fan of every single aspect of horror, but I think I have an immense amount of respect for it.
Okay, so do me. I know I like thrillers, like psychological thrillers. I can't do...
I like that I'm pretending not to know what you're interested in.
Like, I can't do that kind of a thing. I might do blood. It's just like, I can't do...
Okay, so I already know what to suggest based on already what you've told me.
So I love a thriller.
Okay.
Like an old school
thrillers are good.
Yeah.
I love them from across the board. Like, some of my absolute favorites are Vincent Price. Very, very... Did you shake your head like you don't know who that is?
I have no idea what that means.
Okay.
Yeah. You have to treat me like
Let me just take a minute for that.
A baby horror person. Because I am.
Whew. Okay. He's an icon.
Okay. What does he do?
He was an actor, and he specifically did horror movies and things like that.
Okay.
Really big deal. Black and white.
Oh, okay,
Long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah. One of my personal favorites that he's in is Pit and the Pendulum, which is a film version of the Edgar Allan Poe.
Cool. I don't want to have the physical feelings like I am scared, but I want to have the mental feelings like I'm does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So if it's older and I can kind of like...
I'm going to suggest a newer thing. One movie that I really, really loved, and I also loved the background behind it, was Jordan Peele's Nope. Have you watched it?
So I did see Get Out, right?
Very different. Get Out is done by Jordan Peele.
We're in the same... Okay, but this is totally different.
I watched an interview where Jordan Peele talked about creating Nope, and one of the things that he said was it was a love letter to those people who feel like they don't fall within the horror genre.
Okay.
That it was a way to say, you are involved in this, even if you don't realize it. It's very, very well done. I love it, and I think that in the realm of it being graphic, it's close to none. psychological thriller aspect, amazing. It gives you just enough where you're on edge, but not physically upset.
Yeah.
I think it's a good entry level into leaning into the discomfort of horror. Because that's essentially what it is you're allowing yourself to sit in this tension.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Okay, so this is interesting because I'm not someone who needs everything to be happy either. Like, I actually love a movie
There's
where
lots
I'm
of
crying.
horror movies where
I almost feel like grief is what other people have for fear.
Oh, man.
I'm looking for grief.
Oh, there's lots. That's a whole aspect of horror is grief, which is another thing that people need to know. If you lost someone that you love recently, maybe going into horror movies that revolve around grief are not the best ones to go into.
Okay.
You know?
Okay, cool.
That one's a really good one. As far as books, I absolutely loved, I will shout it from the rooftops, I loved The September House by Carissa Orlando.
I do think I could do more horror books than movies. Like, I think that is something I can
I think there is something really valuable when it comes to horror books versus horror movies, because a lot of people will go, okay, I'm going to throw on like a horror podcast or a true crime. I get what you're saying, but if you're going to do that, go to books.
Right.
Go to books. Shout out Libby in your public library. There's also The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix is one of the best ones that I've read. Loved it, loved it, loved it. He's also the author of My Best Friend's Exorcism. Both of them are great. Honestly, Best Friend's Exorcism is a really good one for like female friendships.
Oh, great.
Although it is written by a man. Sorry, Grady. So that one, those are some of my favorites. As far as movies, I like ones that really like emotionally scar people. So
what does the ending of something have to be for it to be horror?
I think the ending can be anything.
Really?
Honestly, what's really interesting is there are quite a few horror movies. One of the most famous ones is The Descent that have had to have a rewritten ending specifically for American audiences because we need happy endings.
Okay.
Like, or at least the illusion of a happy ending.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of movies that, like, we as Americans tend to have a lighter. Foreign horror movies are a whole other realm. Like, when you talk about introduction,
that would be interesting to me because
no, you should start like if you are new to horror movies. I know, but like we have a very like if you're new to the horror genre as a whole, start domestic.
Okay.
Because it's going to mess you up. Other countries have different levels.
Okay.
And for the most part,
wait, the foreign movies will mess you up?
Yes.
Or,
yeah.
Okay.
Way more upsetting, way more graphic. For them as a whole, as a generalization.
What do you think the intersection is between dystopian horror? It's got to be a thing.
Oh yeah.
I think I would like that too.
Absolutely. There's a lot of like kind of why we read into zombies and the quote undead being the ultimate sort of fear for people, and a lot of that is because we as Americans are not faced with the realities of death on a day-to-day basis, where we are so separated from essentially our mortality.
Sure.
That it is now a franchise fear.
That's crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where we're like, we are physically, like we are scared of decomposing bodies coming towards us.
Yeah. Okay, so I have like a pretty high regard for my Christian faith, and but also a ongoing interest all the time in the church and its history and how it shows up in culture and like all of that. And so I grew up with us not doing anything for Halloween, which I am very open about the fact that the reason I enjoy dressing up every year for Halloween is because I didn't do it. So I'm like, living my best life. But one of the things that actually made me want to incorporate Halloween into our lives is because it's actually part of, the history is connecting us to the idea of death. So Halloween comes from All Saints Day and Hallows Eve, and that was something that was very present, especially in the Catholic Church, which I'm not Catholic, but I think that when you walk away from this idea of death to the point that it's all scary.
Yeah.
Right? I actually feel like I've given it more power than I would want to. And so one of the conversations we have with our kids is that, yes, there's scary things going on, but actually, and there's historical reference for this, this is actually a day where we're almost showing that death is not have the power over us and over life.
Yeah.
Like there's actually this sort of tongue-in-cheekness with Halloween. And so that's how we kind of talk about it with our kids of like, you know, you can be scared, but look, we're right here with you. We're as a family, we're walking, we're seeing scary things, and you're safe. Like it's actually this way to kind of go through fear in a way of like also doing it with community, seeing our neighbors, you know, talking to people as we're doing the trick-or-treating. So for me, Halloween has actually become something that I think of as a very communal thing, that we're all, exactly what you said, we're all saying death, fear is part of our lives.
Yeah.
And yet here we are walking and eating candy and like sweetness and the joy and the fun of it as well is standing side by side with the reality of the grief and the fear and all that stuff.
Well, that's also why, like, geographically in our world, there are differences in the horror genre is because our aspect towards death is different than other cultures.
Right.
And so when it comes down to it, a lot of the traditional, for lack of a better word, United States horror is the main focus is survival. And when the goal is survival, that changes the entire aspect of
also,
the plot.
I bet it's personal survival too.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
I think for me, one of the things I struggle with in horror, and actually I struggle with this a lot in like action movies too, is that there can be so much destruction and death, but as long as the one person that we're following gets out, it's like, woohoo, we just had a good, we had a good ending. And I feel like I'm just built very communal to the point where I'm like, I have a hard time then having celebration over the fact that you got out when we're seeing so much destruction on the way.
Like War of the Worlds is what I'm thinking about with that. I don't know if you've seen the big monsters that like fart all over the place.
That's just my life.
It's such a great one. But yeah, again, you're like, okay, so like the lead is Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
We know he's going to be fine.
Yeah. But I get to the point of
scurry
at the end of those and I'm like, well, who says you got to get out? Like, why am I going to be okay with that when so many other people have been either it's the destruction or the space has been destruction. I don't know. That's where my mind goes. So I think sometimes when I'm watching things that are meant to be scary, I can feel myself like not on the, like I'm not being brought along on the same track everyone else is being brought on, which is maybe why I've avoided the genre.
There's so many horror movies that have an underlying tone of this is postpartum.
But I do not want to see like children being the scary thing. Like to me, that feels really
well, being the scary thing or being scared. Because like Children of the Corn is a good classic with the kids taking over the town.
I think I would have a hard time in my
Village
head.
of the Damned is a good one too.
I have a hard time getting out of like...
That was my impression of them. I lasered my eyes, but you couldn't see it. Well, honestly, I think there are better books than there are movies. And part of that is just because our technology is changing.
Sure.
And throughout all of that, our imagination stays the same. I really have trouble with specifically beauty standards.
Yeah.
Because at this point, we're having these stories told to us that, I mean, essentially a massive point of horror storytelling is the idea that you would put yourself in that position and feel that fear, whatever that fear would be.
Right.
And it's nearly impossible when every single person is stunning.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's scared right now. Oh my God, you're so scared. You're like, you're so hot. Congratulations. Like, congrats. You went out at the top of your game. There are moments like that where I have a lot of trouble getting into it. I mean, I'm just immediately taken out when I'm like, wow, you have no acne? Oh my gosh. very
perfect teeth.
very American
Yeah.
veneers and things like that, where you're just like, okay, bang. And
or if your hair is still perfectly
I'm really
blonde,
taken out of
like,
that.
It doesn't.
Like, specifically with dystopian.
PBS did this. I want to go back and watch because it's been years since I watched it. PBS did these specials where they put like a family. I think it was like 2 or 3 families inside of like colonial Williamsburg.
Oh my God.
They put them back in whatever. They put them back in time, and they like actually did it. They had to be there for a month. It was a whole family would go. And they had to wear the clothes, all of that. They like got rations to start, but then they really were supposed to like figure out how to feed themselves. Yeah. But it it was a show.
Yeah.
I think that there might have been like, I don't know if there was like if you got through it or you didn't, Yelp or whatever, you can get money. I don't remember. I'll have to look it up. That was fascinating to watch because they don't have to do like, okay, so clothing wise. Mm-hmm. I remember one was, I think it was Frontier kind of situation. And it was like dad and mom, and I think they had like 3 girls or whatever. Immediately the girls were like, yeah, I'm not wearing this corset. Yeah. Like, I'm not wearing in this stuff. And so they would just like revamp their wardrobes. Yeah. Right? They just ended up wearing their underwear. What was essentially would have been the underwear because it just looks like a sundress. Yeah. Right? And that's what they were doing. And then they were figuring out other ways. Yeah. Because they can do whatever they want. And I thought that was so fascinating to watch because actually that's more of a reality of a dystopian situation. Yeah.
A dystopian situation in itself is horrific because you've essentially lost access to potential bathing. Mm-hmm. So you're super hairy, super stinky. Who knows when the last time you've had a clean pair of underwear is and all this stuff. And yet when we see a woman on screen in a dystopian movie, you're like, oh my God, not only does she look good, right? She's toned. Right. She has definitely shaved her armpits. Get it, girl. Her hair is okay. And like she recently got a lip flip. You're like, oh, you're looking so good. And
like immediately if I'm you're in a dystopian situation and water is becoming where you have to go. Like I'm shaving my head. Oh. Right? Yeah. Immediately. Yeah, I'm shaving my head.
I think I'm just dying.
Well, that too.
I'm out on the first
wave. My back is out. Right?
Oh, see, I'm just out. I'm out.
I'm in so much pain because I'm sleeping who knows where. Yeah. Yeah, definitely stinky. Definitely other things as well.
That takes me out of. I get very, very picky about horror movies whenever we're put in those kind of situations where I'm immediately like, wow. Good for her.
Do you think there will be movies or shows where people will figure that out and they'll be like, no, let's actually like... No, it won't matter.
I think we'll do the kind of thing what we do now is we pick a couple of, quote, dowdy women and we just hype them up for being so real.
Oh, gosh.
I.e. like Anne Dowd in Handmaid's Tale. She's a regular casting because she... is an older woman who looks like an older woman. People will be like, she's so real. And you're like, there's a lot of real women out there, actually. Yeah. It's just that when everyone has these same, it's called the face that's seen an iPhone. Yeah. Yeah. When everyone has a face that's seen an iPhone.
There are so many movies I've watched recently where I can't do
Everyone's brows are microbladed and perfect. Everyone's got the best vibes. Yeah. And you're like, yeah, you're like, oh yeah, I know they had filler before that, and you're like,
you know what
great,
helps with that though?
Horror
is actually watching older movies, because you see these people where you were told like these are the epitome of beauty at that time, but our beauty standards right now are so remodeling of the human body, where back then it wasn't.
Also, I think it's
right. So like when you look at Marilyn Monroe, or you look at like. Katharine Hepburn or whatever, like they look like real people and they age like real people, even though they're obviously the most beautiful person at the time, or they're that kind of look. They wear clothes like real people, and then you see it now, and you're like, there's just it's different.
I think it's also really telling that a conversation around horror becomes a conversation around the beauty standards of women.
Also,
because that's a genre in itself.
well, I was going to say, also, I know that that's a book genre as well, at least if not a movie. Horror that is about
yeah.
beauty standards.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And women,
of course,
in the beauty
Actually,
industry.
there's a great old school Twilight Zone. Have you ever watched the old school Twilight Zones? The
I've seen, like,
classic
just a
pig face
few.
ones.
Just a few.
There's one that's so good. She's the whole time it's just this woman in a hospital, and she's talking about, oh my gosh, how she grew up, and she was just like, she's so excited to get this surgery to be beautiful. And this is old. I mean, it's, I want to say like 60s is when it was made.
Right.
And it's just like, she's like, I'm so excited to have this surgery.
At the time,
I'm
it was
so
dystopian,
ready.
and now it's real.
Yeah, and you can't see anyone's face, and so you're just like kind of hearing her talk about it, and you're seeing the back of the nurses.
Yeah.
And then when all the big plot twist for those of you who haven't watched Twilight Zone in like 60 years,
Maybe
they turn around and like all of them have like all the people in the world have this sort of disformed pig face with these terrible horrific features, and this woman who had this surgery, they're like, I'm so sorry it didn't take, because she's like stunningly beautiful. And it's like sort of this warped beauty standards thing, and I just think we're kind of entering into like a new phase now where I feel like it's actually really hard to get women into horror, which is why I think Midsommar was such a big deal, because of that, because women watch it and go, I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna look like a toned badass fighting zombies.
Right.
I'm gonna be huffing it.
Yeah.
Like, like, no. But we can talk about like happier things if we want. There's lots of really happy fun things.
I'll take us out on a fun note. Halloween treats. Do you have any like favorite Halloween candy treats that you're looking forward to?
If I'm thinking about the candy that I'm gonna pick from my kids' baskets,
yeah,
I'm gonna go Butterfingers first.
Okay. Yeah, what's gonna be?
I'm really gonna age myself here to go from Butterfinger. I'll eat the Three Musketeers.
I don't mind a Three Musketeer though.
Yeah.
I don't mind a Three Musketeer.
Just roll me right into the retirement home.
Yeah. Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. All day, every day.
Okay.
And Skittles. Skittles are always gone. I mean, I like a fruit candy, so like...
Oh, you're a fruit candy girl.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So we're going there first. So we're going like... Honestly, Smarties. I love Smarties.
And that is the American Smarties, not the Canadians.
Apparently.
Or UK and all that stuff.
Yeah. If it's chocolate, it's Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. And then...
Wait, I'm just like putting that together. You like US Smarties.
Yes.
Like the chalk.
The chalky kind.
Huh.
I could eat so many of those. I think it's a texture thing.
It would have to
I think it's a texture
thing.
thing.
That's the only thing.
And I think it's because it's also something you can eat a lot of. Because they're not that's sweet. True. So, like, you can really, like, enjoy your time for a while.
That's true.
I love a Starburst. Oh, I love a Starburst. Yeah, I mean, fruity candy, for sure, are going to be gone first. At the bottom of the barrel, always. What's going to get left? Dum-Dums.
The flavored Tootsie Rolls.
Flavored.
I
love the flavored Tootsie Rolls.
Really?
Not the real ones.
Oh, see, I love the real
ones.
No. I love the real ones. Kyle's always like, gross.
No, I actually really love
the kids are like okay with
ones.
them, but probably just because they haven't been exposed to better candy or something.
I mean, Laffy Taffy's better. But, yeah. Okay.
I'm trying to think.
Twizzlers,
I can't even just like think of candy right now.
I feel like Twizzlers is just...
Whoppers?
I like a Twizzler.
Whoppers is a good one. I'd go for a Whopper, but honestly, have you ever gotten some Whoppers and you like bite into it and it's one of the bad ones?
Yes. Which I think adds
it's risky. It's too risky.
See, that adds
Whoppers
to the intrigue.
See, to me, it feels like I'm gambling, and I'm like, it's so much of a disappointment that
that's the horror of it.
Yeah,
you never know.
Our own horror story is
our own horror is how much is the malt?
The gamble of Whoppers. No.
I have one more question. Money is not an issue.
Yeah.
And you can do this to the nth degree. What would be the dream costume?
costume.
Yeah, like you have a
See,
makeup artist.
I was like, oh, I'm taking a trip somewhere and going to see
so
something spooky. I'm gonna go tour. I want to go see the Tower of London.
Okay, we can ask
so
that
bad.
too. We can ask that.
That's
too.
what I would. If money was no issue, I would go see real. Like I would probably want to go see like the Tower of London or some sort of like true horror situation.
Okay.
Because I think deep down, supernatural, paranormal things are scary and they're fun to pretend and they're fun to go think about and get scared. But also, I think people are horrific.
Oh, that's true.
And that's not ending this on a happy.
See, sometimes that's like the thing is like the dead people are not the people I'm scared of.
And like people have created really, really, we've done a lot of really gruesome things in our history, and I would love to see some of those places. And I think it's really like something to stand. Whenever we went to San Francisco, I had Kyle. We went to the intersection of the last known Zodiac murder.
Sure.
And I took just like some moments and took a couple pictures and things like that, and just was like, okay, that was the last official murder attributed to the Zodiac.
Okay.
But it was just one of those where it was like, this is like such a monumental intersection, and now it's like beautiful houses. They're so pretty in a very nice neighborhood. But it's just one of those where it's so wild to stand somewhere and be like, I'm standing in a place that was truly, truly just like horrible and horrific.
Yeah.
I also got to do that at in Chicago at H.H. Holmes, at the site of where H.H. Holmes' murder castle was.
Okay.
So I really enjoyed doing that.
This is reminding me we need to travel more together.
Yeah.
Just so we can have the experience of being...
I mean, it's just kind of wild.
Differently, because that's not how I experience things. But I love seeing the world through your eyes.
But I just think I'm like, wow, like, because I think deep down people are the scariest things. Money is no object. I would want to travel and see some of the terrible things that we've done. Okay. Wow. Bucket list. Right? Yeah. In a weird... Yeah. I remember we took a trip to London whenever I was a kid. Mm-hmm. Not kid, but like teen. Mm-hmm. And I remember one of my takeaways, even though we didn't see the space, is I remember being somewhere and they were like, oh, the next block down is the block where William Wallace was tortured. And I was like, oh, I can't believe I'm like standing here where that was. Yeah. And so, I mean, that's really like everywhere in the U.S. where we have harmed people and hurt people. But I guess I'm pretty bad at ending this on a happy note. I was trying to say costume, but that's great. Costume. I don't know, because I'm not a big dress up person. You aren't. What about you? You're the dress up person. So what would you do? Do anything. I mean, probably something Lord of the Rings. Probably a full on Eowyn costume. Like a full Eowyn. Is that the elf? No, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna guess. She's the one that is from the Rohirrim, so she's like from the horse people. And remember, she goes into battle. She's in all the movies. Is she Kate Blanchett? No. Who is she? Miranda Otto, I think. She's got a great costume where she is fighting. That one's great. Oh, that girl. Yeah, I think that would be my, like, if I could look like somebody for one day, it'd be that move. I don't know, because if you had, like, anything, part of me is like, well, I want to go, like, full on Marie Antoinette or something. Like, right? Like, if you could have anything. Did you know Marie Antoinette would shit in the corner? That makes so much sense. Can you imagine that's what they did. How hard it would be for her to, like, go to the bathroom, No, like, all the royals. Their castle, like, stunk so bad because they would go and they'd be like, excuse me, waddle back into a corner and just let it rip. That's the true kind horror, is that, like, we are creating a facade, and in the real life, we're just human beings that have to poop. And so I see, like, period movies and things like that, and I'm like, no one's talking about the piles over there in the corner, and how you can't, like, you had to have the windows open. Yeah. You were glad. That would be cool. That'd be a good costume. I'm just saying, like, imagine Greta, if you could have a full on, like, that would be cool. I don't know. I've never thought about that. Have you ever done the costume? This feels like it would be you. Nicole Kidman, where she's
doing the beginning soliloquy at the AMC theaters. That
the way I thought about that last year, and I was like, no one's gonna get it.
Are you kidding me?
I was like, I should walk around in a striped suit and just be ready to sit and be like,
yes,
I'm here.
Every time I see her do that, for some reason, you come into my mind.
I love it because it's so ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous, but I think you could pull it off. You've got the stature for it.
I love it. Oh my God. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So hi everybody. Abby just told me that I have the stature to pull off a Nicole Kidman look. So we got that.
All right. Well, this was fun.
Yeah.
I love talking Halloween with you.
It's great. I could talk about it so long. Oh my gosh. You can follow along at It Has Pockets Pod, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah. See you next time.